You know, there are people, Wilder, who are beginning to despair that this department is being run like a race between you and Kane to put one over on each other.
I hope you're keeping score.
Do you agree that we approve those allocations or not?
Certainly.
Will you initial them then?
Yes. Is Kane in his office?
He was. I believe he's gone over to the house.
No. Yes, well, if you see him, would you tell him I'd like a word with him this afternoon?
He's going over to Paris this afternoon.
Why?
I'm afraid he didn't tell me.
I'll bet he didn't. He's treading on my toes.
Kane? Well, the pain is probably mutual.
He wants me out. And by association, you also.
I know.
Doesn't it worry you?
Established civil servants are harder to get rid of than that.
He could have you moved.
It depends on the form the move would take, wouldn't it?
Don't you object to sweating out the rest of your career in some dusty backwater?
What have you got in mind?
Well, every time he gets something over on me, he gets something over on you. He nibbles away at the foundations till he can make us both topple.
And?
Do you know why he's going to Paris?
No.
No. No, nobody does. Where are you going now?
I've got to go down to Holborn, then lunch.
Could we get somebody to pop over to Paris for us this afternoon?
To do what?
Just to look around. Someone who Kane doesn't know.
Yes, I think I can.
But I'll have to catch the 2:30 plane. I've already had a seat booked on it.
Have you? Okay, I'll fix it up.
What are you doing in Holborn?
Nothing much, just routine. I want out.
Don't let them hustle you, Lincoln. You have a brain, use it.
I'm sick of being caught in the crossfire between your husband and your friend Kane.
He's not my friend. Not in the sense you mean, anyway.
Well, our friend Kane, then. Doesn't matter which of them wins, it won't advance me 1 inch.
So what are you going to do?
I haven't really decided. Kenneth Bligh offered me a directorship with his firm. I've been talking to him about it this morning. They're doing very well.
You're going to take it?
I don't know. It means herring off on a completely new path rather sooner than I'd planned. Still.
You don't really want to go, do you?
No, not really. Still, if there's a choice between that and ending up like Jayston Fowler... Oh, you won't for God's sake tell John I saw Kenneth, will you?
How in the world should I know? No, of course I won't. Where would this job be that Kenneth is offering you?
Well, the first 2 years would be in Canada.
Oh.
And that's another thing, isn't it?
What?
I'm also sick of sneaking out to meet you in obreptitious little corners.
That's a good word. What does it mean? As if I didn't know.
Aren't you sick of it?
Yes. Frightens me, Lincoln. I don't know why, but it frightens me.
If I took Kenneth's job.
I know.
We are coming very rapidly to a decision.
Yes, I know we are. That frightens me, too.
Where did he go?
278 Rue Jacques O'Hara.
Who lives there?
It's a pied-à-terre. Nobody actually lives there. The servants, man and wife, come in when it's in use.
Who does it belong to?
Hard to say who it belongs to. We suspect the title is held by the DDECE.
Who?
Département de Documentation Extérieure et Contre-Espionnage.
Espionage.
Well, that doesn't make it all that suspect. On the whole, it seems to be used overnight by out-of-town deputies who haven't anywhere else to go.
Who was using it?
Well, that's what was interesting. It wasn't an out-of-town anybody. It was Monsieur Sanglaire. Albert Sanglaire.
Really?
Who is Albert Sanglaire?
Was anybody else with him?
Yes. About half an hour after Mr. Kane arrived, Henri Mamiel turned up.
If you wouldn't mind, Lincoln.
Vietnam Solidarity Front.
Vietnam?
It needn't be directly Vietnam. Mamiel is a pretty solid Maoist. He has other connections.
Well, will you explain to me what's going on?
Sanglaire and Mamiel.
It could only be a commercial connection. Songlaire wouldn't smudge his position with doubtful political deals.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
But when he left, he went along to the Fantasie with Songlaire. They had a couple of drinks and were joined by a man called Malune. Now, he's something in the Department of Posts and Telegraphs, whatever that might mean. He was with a chap called Seung Tae, lives in Hong Kong, has a factory there assembling binoculars, microscopes. He's lived there all his life, but he's a Han Chinese. And another chap whose name I didn't know, but I gather he's from the Chinese mainland. Someone thought Hailung Kiang, and something to do with the Department of Industry.
Good.
Why all this cloak and dagger?
Well, he wasn't really cloak and daggering, was he? We were the ones who were doing that.
Well, let's say he's making unscheduled visits to Paris, seeing Maoists in houses belonging to this EGCD, whatever.
DDEC.
Chinese industrialists, Peking politicians, and God knows what else.
I wouldn't jump in feet first.
I'm not going to.
Good.
But you are. I want you to find out what's happening.
If I might hazard a guess,
Do.
he's quite probably opening up contacts for something that may come along later. In fact, if I had to describe it, I'd say he's probably doing a John Wilder.
Really? Well, that's certainly something that has to be stopped. Anyway, find out what you can.
All right. Oh, you realize, having you as our friend today, we may well have security sniffing around to see what it's all about.
Good.
Good.
Yes, Lincoln. Good.
I just thought of something.
What?
He couldn't have met any of those people without the French knowing about it. In fact, he used a house belonging to them. So if we put a man onto him, what's to say they didn't put a man on our man?
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, if you don't get out of my hair, I may break your back.
Did you have a good trip?
Hammersmith flyover was jammed.
I'm still going to find out what you're up to.
John, I'm warning you. Keep your nose out of it, or I'll break your back.
Try it. I'll break your heart.
Meaning?
All right, what the hell do you think you're doing?
In what sense, Minister?
One thing I know about Wilder, he doesn't have access. Never in a million years would they allow him access. Now, you're a different kettle of fish, aren't you? And the fish is beginning to stink.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yes, you do. For God's sake, don't talk to me as if I was cabbage green round the ears. I know you were recruited. I can almost tell you the day you were recruited.
Someone's been giving you inaccurate, albeit classified, information.
You were pretty sure I wouldn't recognize your chap, weren't you? But what you didn't think of was that another agent might recognize him. You should have got someone with deeper cover. Or wouldn't they let you have anyone like that without asking questions?
I do wish you'd explain this to me, Minister.
Well, they couldn't have got someone like that, not from that department, but you are in that department, aren't you? One of our sniveling teachers' pets creeping to the headmaster was what the big boys are up to.
I'm not prepared to take this
No?
sort of thing, not even from someone in your
Aren't you?
position.
Then where do you want me to put you so that you don't have to? Now, you listen to me, Lincoln. We can get along very well if we have to get along. Just you declare your neutrality like a good, dedicated civil servant should. It may have escaped your notice, but in fact, I am the minister responsible for this department. And you know the saying, it's better to know the judge than to know the law.
Jason Fowler's nanny made him say it every night instead of prayers.
Yes, well, I didn't have a nanny. I had a supervisor coming round every night at 9 o'clock threatening to beat hell out of us if we were still talking after lights out, and we'd be chucked out of the orphanage, and then where would we be?
Politicians in Her Majesty's government at $5,500 a year. I didn't have a nanny either. They're pretty rare in council houses. I wonder where all the other lads who were at school with us are now.
All right, Lincoln, your sleeve isn't full of trump cards. I'm just telling you.
Oh, no, the etiquette here is one doesn't tell, one suggests, in an amiable spirit of concord. We've both learned that. It's how we got out of our class.
Yeah. Well, contrary to the spirit of the service, Lincoln, I am telling you.
What?
You declare your neutrality. Or if you can't declare it, abide by it.
Or?
Or I'll break your back, too.
One could hurt one's hand doing that, you know. You know what those two are going to do, don't you, between them? They're going to destroy the department.
They might, certainly they might.
And yet we could prevent it, or determine who is going to win.
Oh, God, what does it matter which of their infantile ambitions wins or doesn't win? Sorry. Of course it matters, the department. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Wouldn't you prefer to win, too?
To win? Oh, yes. I think I'd prefer that more than anything.
One has other responsibilities than just one's pension, you know.
I always think it's so silly of them to try and give this impression of spurious eroticism. Quite sure there isn't a man here who believes it. Beauty is in repose. I think women never know when they're being beautiful or desirable. They never know, and we're never able to tell them. The great uncrossable barrier between what men need and what women are. I sometimes think it would take a language without words to be able to speak about it. Is that perhaps what sex is? I'm not well, Lincoln. Incurably not well. Oh, no, not immediately. Some little time, but foreseeably so. Sufficiently for them to advise one that one should put one's house in order. One's house.
Moving you out, is he?
Looks like it.
Doesn't it worry you?
It is a promotion.
Don't you want it?
No.
Oh, why not?
I had other ideas of what I wanted to do.
Do you? You know, we don't always get the things we want the way we want them, do we?
You seem to.
Do I? Well, if you don't want it, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
Why should I do anything about it?
You want your allies depleted?
Oh, allies, hmm? So we've progressed through what just is it that Lincoln Dowling does? Is he on my side or their side? Through, I'm your assistant, that's one who assists, to being an ally. You don't even take down shorthand, Lincoln. But you seem to be very good at entertaining my wife. Well, aren't you?
Oh,
Well, a common interest in the arts, in the humanities, it's perfectly natural. One meets too few people who seem as absorbed in the things that interest one oneself. When one does, one tends to cling on to them. I've always wished that I could have met more such people.
So, I'm to take it you're going to do nothing about this posting, for one reason or another.
Well, just as you wish.
What about Kane and his Oriental friends? Don't you want me to go on helping you with that?
How long is it before your posting takes effect? 2, 3 weeks?
Months. Unless, of course, this is an emergency replacement.
Is it?
I don't think so.
Well, nothing's changed, has it? We still have at least 2 or 3 weeks to get things tied up. Now, if you'll excuse me.
At the most.
I see.
It could be a month, or if he really wants to be bloody minded about it, he could arrange to have me flown out in 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days?
Emergency replacement.
So what are you going to do?
It doesn't give me much time to do anything, does it? If I can't get out of it.
Do you think you might be able to get out of it?
I doubt it. I think he's got me tied up so tight, if I try and struggle, I'll strangle myself.
So you'll have to go?
No. Well, not to Jakarta, anyway. I'm damned if I'm going to take that dusty road to the top.
But...
If I can't wriggle out of it, I'll take up Kenneth's offer in Canada.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. So whatever happens, you'll have to go.
Looks like it. It also looks as though we've come to the time for that decision.
When did it occur to you this evening? What were you doing when this, whatever it was, occurred to you?
How do you mean?
All right. What was it that occurred to you?
What do you think John knows about us?
I don't know. Nothing, I think.
He might.
He might.
You're right.
Yeah, sure. Of course I am. Don't worry. What was it that occurred to you then?
Well, that it needn't have been Kane who arranged my transfer. Could have been your husband.
Yeah. I suppose that's possible, yes.
Do you think he knows something?
I don't know. Hasn't said anything.
No, but he might, mightn't he?
He might.
Couldn't be easier for him, could it, if he wanted me out of the way?
Just listen to it. Didn't even bring an umbrella.
Do you think he does suspect?
Well, what does it matter if he does? You're not being transferred because you're resigning.
I'd just like to know.
If I'm going to Canada with you, I know. Put this out for me, will you? Quickly, Lincoln. Please.
Well, you're not leaving us after all, eh?
No, apparently not.
Father told me.
Really?
Getting promotion, I hear.
Yes, so it seems.
Well, that's very nice for you. Sure you deserve it. Mind you, I had hoped if you'd been going abroad, we wouldn't be quite so pestered by those friends of yours from security. Every time I comb my hair, 2 or 3 fall out. I used to think it was dandruff.
But I can assure you...
No, don't, Lincoln, don't. I might have to believe you. Oh, by the way, it wasn't me who arranged you to be posted. I don't really care whether you're here or not. You put him on to me.
Put who on to you?
Come on, Johnny, know what I'm talking about. Lincoln Dowling and his gang of witch hunters. He wouldn't have had the guts to start this on his own, that's for sure. I had a very oily gentleman named Mobbs waiting for me in my office just now, suggesting what I should and shouldn't do for the benefit of the Crown.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No?
No, I merely asked Darling if he could find out what your interests were in Paris, that was all.
I asked you very specifically to stay out of this one.
You told me, very rudely.
But as usual, you took it as a slight on your commercial virility and decided to stick your own oar in. To what end, I really can't imagine.
This absurd scheme had no chance of ever getting off the ground. Do you imagine for one moment that the Americans would allow to be taken off the strategic list anything that they thought even remotely might not be to their advantage?
Well, they won't.
Strategically or commercially. They're not only a military power, they're a commercial power. You have to deal with them like any other competitor in business.
Oh, your mind is jammed up in business, isn't it? You're like one of these half-wits who say the country would be better run if we had a government made up of businessmen.
Oh, by the way, was it you that had Lincoln Dowling transferred?
No. Wasn't it you?
No. Hell, don't tell me there's someone else in here that wants to get rid of him.
It's just that it's different now.
You're not going to Jakarta?
No.
Nor to Canada?
No.
So it's different now?
I didn't say that.
Which that do you mean? The that of my not coming to Canada with you, or the that of my coming up here to see you whenever you feel it might be nice?
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Suddenly everything's different. Which that have we given up?
Simply that I'm not now going abroad.
Lincoln, I was about to alter my entire life for you. You asked me to, and I might just have been prepared to do so. In 2 weeks, I would have had to reorganize my whole life. All you had to do was to buy 2 tickets to Canada and alter your job. And suddenly it's different.
I didn't say that.
Because you've been offered a new job, you're not going to buy those tickets. You tell me this evening. But you knew this morning. At any time I might have spoken to John.
You didn't.
No. No, I didn't.
All I said was we'd have to be careful.
Because it might endanger your new job.
Oh, I didn't mean it to sound like that.
Oh, no, of course you didn't. You didn't mean to go on talking about yourself and your problems that night when I was up here with you. But you did. Oh, I know you. I married you.
No. Pamela.
Let's not be silly about it. It's all been a terrible mistake. You're afraid that I might be embarrassment to you in your new job.
That's unfair.
And I'm afraid that in 5 years from now, I shan't be able to tell the difference between you and John Wilder.
Pamela. Pamela.
You have it wrong, you know.
Canada, yes.
Even Jakarta. But not London.
Hell, look where I live. Look where you live.
Well, this promotion doesn't make me rich. I've got to work things out. I need a day or two to think.
Yes. Take all the time you want, Lincoln.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
I had a meal with Walter Hallam this evening.
Did you?
I think it was the most pleasant thing that's happened to me this week, seeing him again.
Was it?
Made me want to go back into aircraft.
Why don't you?
What did you do tonight?
Went to a show.
Any good?
Average.